Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are looking at an event that is loud, chaotic, and moves at a speed that honestly just doesn't make sense for a religious procession.
Right.
We are talking about the Baishatun Mazu Pilgrimage in Taiwan.
It is a sensory overload. I mean, in the best way possible. And you're right about the speed. There is a reason the deity's palanquin is nicknamed the pink supercar.
I've seen the footage. It's got this bright pink canopy, and it literally sprints. It doesn't look like a solemn march at all.
No.
It looks like a race.
It does. And unlike other pilgrimages where the route is fixed, months in advance, this one is. It's unpredictable.
So Mazu just decides on the fly.
The belief is that she decides where she goes in real time. She might veer into a market, a school, or, even plunge into a river. And the pilgrims, hundreds of thousands of them, have to keep up.
So you have an unpredictable route, a sprinting deity, and a massive crowd. You'd assume the only people who can survive this are, young, athletic, or at least seasoned hikers.
That is the assumption, yeah. But if you look closely at the footage from the last 5 years, you see something that just defies that logic.
Okay.
Right in the middle of this grueling army march, there is a surge of people in wheelchairs, people using walkers, the elderly. And that is what we are deep diving into today, specifically based on the research of Dr. Hsu Yi-teng.
This is what really caught my attention. We aren't just talking about one or two people, right? This is a demographic shift.
It is. Dr. Yu's research highlights a really visible increase in wheelchair users, both manual and electric, and people with visual impairments joining the procession. He wanted to understand how.
How and why.
Exactly. How do you tackle a multi-day, unpredictable trek when you have limited mobility? And maybe more importantly, why?
That why is where I want to start. Because if I had mobility issues, the idea of chasing a supercar palanquin for 400 kilometers just sounds like a nightmare.
It certainly sounds daunting, but the motivations are incredibly powerful. Dr. Hughes points out that for many, it starts with a vow.
A vow.
Yeah, they are praying for health, for successful exams, for marriage, finding work, or they are there to fulfill a vow because a prayer was answered.
So pretty standard pilgrimage motivations.
On the surface, yes. But there's a deeper layer here. There is a growing group who view it purely as a physical challenge. Think of it like the Western trend of walking the Camino de Santiago in Spain.
Ah, so it's about pushing your limits.
It's about proving something to yourself.
But isn't there a cultural barrier? I mean, in many traditional societies, disability hasn't always been viewed with this kind of go get 'em attitude.
You've hit on a really crucial point. This brings us to the psychological barrier, which is arguably even harder than the physical one. We have to talk about the traditional concept of karma.
How does that play into a pilgrimage? I usually think of karma as just, cause and effect.
In some traditional, more conservative mindsets, physical disability was unfortunately viewed through a lens of moral failing. The idea was that if you have a disability in this life, it might be the result of bad karma from a past life.
Wow. That's incredibly heavy. So you're not just dealing with mobility issues, you're dealing with a society that might see you as a sign of past sin.
Historically, yes. It created a stigma. The feeling was, I shouldn't impose my burden on others, or I shouldn't be out here publicly. But Dr. Hughes' research shows this is cracking.
Okay.
We are seeing a massive shift toward a modern rights-based perspective.
Meaning what, exactly?
Meaning the participants are flipping the script. They aren't there to atone for being a burden. They are saying participation is a basic human right. It's a move from shame to autonomy. They are claiming space on the road.
Wow.
They are saying, I have the right to be here just like anyone else.
I love that. It's reframing the entire experience from penance to empowerment. Oh. But the sources also mention a very specific warning that Dr. Hughes gives.
Right.
He talks about avoiding princess syndrome.
That's a colorful term, isn't it?
It sounds a little harsh. What does he mean by that?
It's not meant to be mean, but it is a reality check. While the pilgrimage environment is incredibly supportive, people love to help. Participants with disabilities need to balance that with self-reliance.
So, don't show up unprepared.
Exactly. Princess syndrome refers to showing up with zero preparation, expecting everyone to wait on you, push you, and feed you.
Don't treat the pilgrimage like a guided tour where everyone else is your staff.
Precisely. The goal is self-reliance mixed with community aid. You prepare as best you can, you bring your gear, you train, and then you let the community fill in the gaps.
Speaking of community aid, there was this really heartwarming story in the source material about a young woman with Down syndrome.
Oh, that was a lovely anecdote. She was walking alone, pulling a little vegetable cart with her supplies.
Yeah.
And she told the researcher that she wasn't afraid because whenever she felt cold, someone would just appear with a blanket. If she was hungry, someone offered food.
Whoa.
She attributed it to Mazu sending people to help her.
That really paints a picture of the atmosphere. It's not just a march, it's a moving community.
It is. But relying on Mazu sending people is one thing. Relying on your own strategy is another. And that leads us to the biggest myth Dr. Hsu busts. The idea that it's all or nothing.
Right. I think many of us assume if you don't walk the full 8 days and 7 nights, you haven't really done it.
And that all or nothing mentality is what keeps so many people at home. The reality is much more flexible. Dr. Reese calls it flexible participation. You don't have to do the Ironman version.
So what are the hacks? If I can't walk for 8 days, how do I still feel like part of it?
Well, there is the leapfrog strategy. You might just join for a weekend. Or if you're working, you could just take a single day off, say the Friday when the entering the temple ritual happens.
Which is the climax of the event.
Exactly. Just drop in for the high energy moments.
Smart.
Then there is the nanny car system. This is brilliant for groups, especially families with elderly members.
A nanny car like for kids.
Sort of. Imagine a team of, say, 5 people in one van. At any given time, 4 people are walking or wheeling, and 1 person is driving the van with all the heavy gear, the water, the spare batteries.
That's brilliant. You have a rolling base station.
Exactly. You rotate every few hours. It solves the fatigue problem and the storage problem all at once. It turns a solo struggle into a team sport.
That changes everything.
It does. And there's also the retreat strategy. Remember, Mazu goes where she wants. Sometimes she goes up these steep mountain roads.
And pushing a manual wheelchair up a mountain road is, well, it's next to impossible.
Right. So the strategy is don't. If the terrain gets too hard, you retreat to flat ground. You wait for the procession to come back down.
So you just use GPS to track the location and rejoin.
You rejoin when it's accessible again.
That's really emphasizing that the connection is mental and spiritual, not just about being physically glued to the sedan every second.
Speaking of mental connection, did you catch the most extreme example of this in the notes, the digital pilgrimage?
Oh, the guy in the U.S.
Yes.
Yes, that blew my mind.
A devotee in the United States who couldn't be there physically, so he set up a treadmill in front of the live stream.
No way.
Yes, way. He walked on the treadmill while watching the live feed, and here's the kicker. He synchronized his brakes with the deity's rest stops. When Mazu stopped, he stopped.
That is dedication.
When the sedan started moving, he started walking.
It really proves that the pilgrimage is a state of mind.
Absolutely. But for those who are physically there, especially wheelchair users, the physical prep is intense. You can't just rely on faith. You need physics.
Right.
Dr. Zhu compares it to climbing Taipei 101. You wouldn't just show up and do it without training.
So what does that training regimen even look like?
You start months ahead. You don't just go out for a stroll. You train with the specific equipment you're going to use.
So if you're taking a wheelchair and a backpack.
You train with that wheelchair and that backpack. You start with 1 hour and then build up to longer and longer durations.
That sounds like marathon training.
It is. And the gear specifics are fascinating. Let's talk about gloves. For manual wheelchair users, regular cycling gloves just don't cut it.
They shred too easily.
They shred. So what's the pro tip?
I have no idea.
Baseball catcher's gloves.
Catcher's mitts. Those are huge.
They are. But think about the padding required to catch a 90-mile-per-hour fastball. That is the only thing that protects your palms from the friction of braking and pushing a manual chair for a week straight.
That makes total sense, but I never would have thought of it.
And then there is the issue of sores. Dr. Hsu talks about a condition he calls the iron butt.
The iron butt. I'm assuming we aren't talking about a superpower here.
Unfortunately not.
No.
And while the name is funny, the reality is dangerous. Hikers get blisters on their feet, right? Right. You can tape those up. But for a wheelchair user, sitting for 10 to 12 hours a day on uneven pavement creates massive pressure sores on your buttocks.
And it's much harder to treat, I'd imagine. You can take a shoe off on the side of the road to tape a toe. You can't exactly do that in the middle of a pilgrimage.
Exactly. There is zero privacy. So the iron butt training is about conditioning your skin and knowing exactly when to shift your weight to prevent deep tissue damage.
It's a medical necessity.
It is. And for the electric wheelchair users, the anxiety is different. It's battery anxiety.
Oh, I bet.
Because it's not just about distance, is it?
No. The pilgrimage is stop and go. You move 10 feet, you stop. You move 20 feet, you stop. That drains batteries much faster than continuous driving.
So you have to know your range and carry spares?
And there is a golden rule for backpacks mentioned in the source material, too.
Yes. Total weight should not exceed 1/10 of your body weight.
Which means you have to be absolutely ruthless with what you pack.
Ruthless. No luxuries. Because every ounce counts when you are pushing yourself.
Okay, so you've trained, you've got your catcher's gloves, your batteries are charged, you're on the road. Now we have to talk about the unglamorous part.
Right.
The part nobody puts on the postcard.
The 3 urgencies.
Specifically, the toilet problem.
This is identified as the single biggest hurdle for disabled participants.
I can imagine. Hundreds of thousands of people, and public restrooms are scarce enough as it is.
Right. So there is a hierarchy of options. Top tier. Gas stations. They usually have accessible toilets, but the lines are just incredibly long.
Then what?
Then you have public buildings, schools, or government offices. Sometimes they open their doors, sometimes they don't.
And lately, there has been an increase in rented accessible mobile toilets, right?
Yes, that's a positive change. But often, it comes down to last resorts. The source mentions that adult diaper sales actually peak during the pilgrimage season.
Wow. That is a stark reality check. That really drives home the commitment level.
It does. Some people just have to rely on them because the infrastructure isn't there. Or they try asking private homes, which is really risky because most private homes in Taiwan aren't accessible.
Steps, narrow doors.
Exactly. And there was an important point about etiquette here, too, for any able-bodied listeners. This is crucial. If you are able-bodied, do not use the accessible stall. It's tempting when the line is long, but for a wheelchair user, that is literally their only option.
It's like parking in a handicap spot just because you're only going to be a minute. Just don't do it.
Exactly. Don't do it.
And what about sleeping? Where do participants stay?
That's the second urgency. Accommodation. Finding accessible lodging on the fly is nearly impossible.
Because Mazu's route is unpredictable. You don't know where she's going to stop for the night.
Correct. Able-bodied pilgrims often just sleep on the street, in parks, or in temple courtyards. But if you have health needs or you're in a wheelchair, sleeping on the pavement is really risky.
So what's the strategy?
Pre-booking hotels near train stations is a common tactic. You stay near a transit hub, then take a taxi to wherever the procession is that day.
Or you sleep in the nanny car.
Or you sleep in the nanny car we mentioned earlier.
That requires a lot of logistical gymnastics.
It does. And this brings us to a broader point about infrastructure. Dr. Anise makes a really compelling argument here regarding the temples themselves.
That they're inaccessible.
Many of them are completely inaccessible. High thresholds, slippery floors, stairs everywhere. And the counter-argument is always, well, it's a historic site, we can't change it.
It's tradition.
Right. But Dr. Yusuf flips that script. He reminds us that the loyal donor base of these temples is aging. The people who have sustained the temple for decades are now the ones using canes and wheelchairs.
That's a powerful perspective. It's not asking for special treatment. It's asking for access for the community elders.
He argues that installing ramps and safe toilets isn't destroying tradition, it's respecting the elders. It's allowing the people who built the community to keep participating in it.
It's not just for those people. It's for the future version of all of us.
Exactly. We are all, as disability advocates say, temporarily able-bodied. Eventually, we will all need that ramp.
So we've covered logistics and gear. Let's talk about the rituals themselves. There is one specific ritual that is iconic to this pilgrimage, the Diamond Jiao.
Yes. Crawling under the palanquin. It's believed to bring great blessings. Pilgrims kneel and bow, and the sedan passes over them.
But obviously you can't do that in a wheelchair. You can't get down on the ground.
And the sedan isn't high enough to pass over a chair. No. So, there's an adaptation. Wheelchair users position themselves at the very front of the line or to the side. They get close, but they don't go under.
So they still get to participate, just differently.
Yes. But this requires crowd etiquette. The source mentions that if the crowd sees a wheelchair user, the protocol or the hope is that people stand still. Let them pass or give them space.
Don't swarm them.
Swarming them is dangerous. It sounds like navigating a school of fish. If everyone moves together, it's fine. If someone panics, it's chaos.
And speaking of chaos, the exit strategy sounds terrifying.
Dr. Yu advises having an extraction plan. The advice is, do not try to leave when the sedan arrives or departs.
That's peak chaos.
Peak chaos. The crowds are impenetrable.
So when do you leave?
You leave early, or you wait until the next day. And you use train stations as your extraction point because they're the most likely to have reliable elevators and ramps.
That seemed to be the recurring theme here. Reliable infrastructure is the lifeline.
It really is. You can have all the spiritual will in the world, but if the elevator's broken, you're stuck.
You know, listening to all this, the catcher's mitts, the diapers, the nanny cars, It really changes how I view this event. It's not just a religious procession. It feels like a microcosm of society grappling with inclusion.
That's a beautiful way to put it. The Baishatun Pilgrimage is evolving. It's moving from a purely physical test of endurance into a demonstration of social inclusion.
It shows tradition isn't static.
It adapts to the people who practice it. And Dr. Hsu's work really highlights that joy of discovery, seeing a tradition we think we know, but through a completely different lens.
And realizing that the barriers aren't necessarily the distance or the heat, but the lack of a ramp or a toilet.
Those are fixable problems.
Absolutely. So what does this mean for our listeners? I mean, maybe you're not planning to walk 400 kilometers in Taiwan.
But you can look at your own local cultural events. Are they accessible? And if you do participate in something like this, be the person who offers the blanket.
Be the person who steps aside for the wheelchair user.
And maybe, just maybe, lobby for a ramp at your local community center or place of worship.
It's for your future self, remember. One final thought to chew on.
Okay.
We talked about the digital pilgrimage on the treadmill. It makes you wonder, as technology gets better, with VR and AR, how will that change the definition of being there? If you can walk the route in VR from a hospital bed, does it count?
Oh, that is a rabbit hole for another day, but a fascinating one.
Indeed. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the pink supercar and the incredible people chasing it. We'll catch you next time.
Stay curious.